Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We are live here on Facebook and YouTube as we preview the AFC, NFC South. We got the Big 12 preview. We have and we're going to finish up the show with the AFC and NFC East preview and wrap it up with Curveball of the Week here. And we're going to have college football this week too, because week 0 starts. The big one is Florida State and Georgia Tech go over to Ireland to play a game. And other than that, there's really not a whole lot going on week 0 here. But nonetheless, we're going to keep moving along with our conference previews. And but before we do, we're going to get started here since we didn't get to the AFC and NFC South last week. We're going to start here. And I'm just going to go ahead get started here, and we'll start with the AFC South. In the 4th spot, I got the Titans. It's going to come down to what happens with Will Levis. I'm not sold that Will Levis is the guy, and I was impressed that they actually drafted an offensive lineman in the 1st round. I don't like the weapons that Will Levis also has, so I think the Titans are going to be in the cellar again in the AFC South. The Colts, number 3. Now, this one was a little bit tricky for me because I thought it could go either way with the Colts or the Jaguars, but we're gonna see what Anthony Richardson is made of after he missed pretty much all of last year. After he showed signs of life, showed a lot of reasons to be hopeful and positive if you're a Colts fan, but I think he still needs to prove that he is able to throw and develop from the pocket, because we still have yet to see anybody that can win a Super Bowl outside of the pocket. And then the 2. And making a return to the playoffs, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they fell apart. Trevor Lawrence was beat up, a bunch of injuries. I think they have improved the offensive line. You're always going to see 14 teams make the playoffs every year. There's always going to be about 6 to 8 new teams. I think the Jaguars find a way to get back into it. I think they're going to be more committed to running the football this year with Travis Etienne. Might or may not have anything to do with me drafting him in my in our dynasty league that all 3 of us are in. And then rounding out, going back to back, is the Houston Texans. Now, offensive line is still a question mark, but they have improved the receiving core. The defense is going to be better again, and I really am putting my blind faith into C.J. Stroud. I liked what I saw. He is a leader. DeMeco Ryans, it's probably the best quarterback and coach combination in the AFC South, and that's why I have the Texans taking the AFC South.
All right. I agree with Dylan. Titans last. I just don't – one of the probably bottom 7 or 8 rosters in the NFL, I'd say. Your receivers aren't going to get it done. Hopkins, old. Ridley, you don't know what that you're going to get game to game, and then –
and he's low-key.
Who's the other guy? Burks, he's a bust. A total bust.
Ridley's low-key kind of old, too.
Yeah,
Burks,
he's like 28.
Burks.
Yeah, Burks is just I didn't like him coming out for the draft. Obviously wasn't wrong. I'm going Jaguars 3. I just don't think their offensive line is good enough. I don't think ETN is going to get enough explosive plays as last year due to that. And I don't trust Trevor Lawrence's arm. I would not have gave him the money he got, but I guess we'll see. I just don't trust that team. I'm going Colts 2nd. I think Anthony Richardson comes back in vengeance for missing majority of his rookie year, and I think they make the playoffs, actually. I think they're going to be quite the duo, him, JT, Michael Pittman. I guess more than a duo. But
that'd be a trio, sir.
Trio, yeah. And if Downs comes back, Grant Sky Downs comes back, maybe he'll pop out for a 2nd year. And then number 1, same thing, Houston Texans. I think they're by far and away the best roster in this division. Let go of some key guys this offseason, but at the same time, they got some studs back. I think they kind of took everyone by surprise when they traded for Stephon Diggs, and they legitimately might have the best trio of wide receivers in the league right now with Diggs, Collins, and Tank Dell.
Yeah, and we might as well just round out this by all agreeing Tennessee is going to be 3rd place or 4th place in this division. Like I said, when they hired, was it Brian Callahan? They got worse as an organization, and this doesn't make any sense. You hire a young, quote, offensive-minded head coach who's never called plays before. just because he was in the same organization as Joe Burrow, he's now getting a head coaching job. I don't get it. Besides, Jeffrey Simmons, they don't have a lot of good defensive pieces that I like. They lose their D coordinator from last year. Their offensive line is still an absolute liability. Congratulations, guys. You drafted one tackle. There's still 4 other spots, and your quarterbacks were getting killed last year. I think Tennessee got worse, and honestly, Dylan, I think the way this league goes, they're going to be in a spot where people are going to say, do they have to draft a quarterback next year? Because I think they might win 4 to 5 games, and now it's like, is Levis the guy? And then this is where I agree with Ethan. I'm going to go Jacksonville number 3. And in this aspect, I don't trust Doug Peterson to not want to throw the ball 45 times a game. I think they gave Trevor all that money. They're going to want to sit back and prove they did it right. And I think that turnover issue is going to continue to bug him. And it's going to cost them a game or 2 that they need at the end of the year. And also, I still don't like Jacksonville's secondary. They could have addressed that a little more in the draft. They didn't. They chose to go with Brian Thomas Jr. If Josh Allen Hins and Trayvon Walker can't get home, they can't cover anybody. And then, so again, I'm with Ethan. Colts win second in the division, and I think they're also going to be a playoff team. I think you saw what Shane Steichen did in 2022 with Jalen Hurts. Last year, those first 4 games with AR-15, they got better this year. They added more pieces. Also taking A.D. Mitchell in the second round, my other Colts receiver. My guy there who's going to be an explosive piece.
Big Colts guy.
Big Colts guy.
All about the ponies.
All about the ponies. And I think Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to get the ball. He's not going to get 350 touches a year because he can't, but he's going to take some pressure off Anthony. And I think the Colts, like Ethan said, sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. And I said in April, the Chiefs are going to play the Houston Texans in the AFC title game. Well, I can't back down from them at least saying they're going to win the division now, which they're going to. Best coach, best quarterback, 2 really good pass rushers in Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson. You got Derek Stingley out there on an island. Losing Blake Cashman is a bit of a loss, but Harris is still a beast in the middle for them. And you add Joe Mixon. Look how important he was to Cincinnati to go in with that group of running backs to maybe take wide receivers to take a little pressure off Stroud. So I think Houston wins this division pretty easy, guys.
All right. Well, then let's go over to the NFC South here. And in the 4 spot, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. Now, we've been very critical of Dennis Allen on this show. I can't trust Derek Carr. There's just nothing there that gets you excited about that quarterback head coach combination. The offensive line, I think, is still a question mark. Alvin Kamara is old. Michael Thomas, is he even still on the team? Can't ever stay healthy.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay. Never mind. But outside of Chris Olave, I'm not sure if I really trust the Saints receiving core. And I have them taking last, and I think they're going to be looking for a new head coach and a quarterback come January. And then in the 3 spot, I have a team that I think is going to be improved. I think they went out and they got a good hired a good head coach in Dave Canales. The part that worries me is David Tepper going to be willing to step aside and not have such an active role and be the cancer that he's been the last few years. I think Bryce Young had moments of promise, and I also think he was put in a tough spot to succeed. I think Canales is a football guy. He has everywhere he has been. You saw Russell Wilson have a great year under him. Baker Mayfield resurrected his career. Geno Smith had a career year while working with Dave Canales. I think he's going to do the same thing with Bryce Young. And I like the Falcons to, similar to what we said with Detroit a couple of years ago when we started this podcast, they may ruin it.
You mean the Panthers?
Yes. That the Panthers, they will ruin a team's playoff hopes at the end of the year. And in the 2 spot, I I don't think I would have had two playoff teams in this a week ago, but the Falcons went out and traded for Matthew Judon. The big question of were they going to address their defense? I think they got better on the defensive side of the ball. They went out and paid big money to Kirk Cousins. Got great weapons between Bijan, Robinson, and that receiving core. I think they're gonna get the best out of him. Zach Robinson is going to be calling the plays. I like the Falcons to finally get over the hump, not go 7-10, and make the playoffs this year. And then for the fourth straight year, I gotta go with the Kings of the South. I gotta go with the Bucks. They went out, re-signed Baker Mayfield, had another career year, had his best year as a pro probably. I think they're going to have a little bit more emphasis on the run. They struggled to run the ball last year. I think they're going to be better in that department. That's going to take pressure off Baker. And a Todd Bowles-led defense is tough to bet against. So that's why I like the Bucks four-peating in the NFC South.
All right. Some minor differences again, not much, but I have the Panthers last. I just don't see, even if Derek Carr just sucks, I just don't see how they're going to be worse than the Panthers. They did literally probably the worst trade in NFL history to move up to number one to select, honestly, maybe an average quarterback. It's starting to look like. After that, I got the Saints. Like you said, Dylan, they just don't really have a whole lot around. It's Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, and basically nothing else. Kamara might have 100 receptions. Yeah. Kamara might have 100 receptions just from dump-offs all year, which I'm fine with because we're in a PPR league, so that's great. That's really the only positive out of the Saints. Falcons, I still think they're a year away. I just don't think they have the defensive pieces yet to get to the playoffs. They added the pass rusher they needed, but I want to see it from them first. Offensively, they should be good. Even losing Rondale Moore, they should have enough targets between London, Pitts, Bijan obviously is there. So I think they should score points with Kirk, but I just don't think the defense is there. And then, I think the Bucs go back and win it again. Finally, a team has really given Baker money, and you're probably going to see his best year yet, even better than last year when he was pretty damn good.
Just paid Tristan Wirfs as well.
Yeah, and Antoine Winfield.
Antoine Winfield re-signed Mike Evans in the offseason. Tampa Bay, they're like, you know what? We have a good young nucleus. We're gonna roll with this. But yeah, number 4, I got the Carolina Panthers at the bottom. Guys, I understand they went out and they got some younger pieces and some better pieces to help with Bryce. Because you look at that team last year, no receiver could get open. Jonathan Brooks is going to be a good pro. Jatavian Sanders. You trade for Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette in the first round. They're all nice names, but it's going to take a while for them to mesh, and it's going to take them a while for Dave Canales to figure out what they can and can't do offensively. And their offensive line is still an issue. Let's not forget that. And I don't think much of the New Orleans Saints, who are going to finish third in this division, but the Saints still have a good defense, and I think they're going to cause Carolina some issues. And a lot of teams are going to cause Carolina some issues this year because they just cannot protect Bryce Young. But with that, like I said, the New Orleans Saints at third. Dylan, I got to agree with everything you said. Dennis Allen's not a head coach. Something happened to Derek Carr. I don't know if it was Josh McDaniels and it ruined everything about him, but now it's check down Derek. He's afraid to throw the ball.
I like dump down Derek even better.
Dump down Derek.
Yep. You got to go with
triple D.
Yep. It honestly looks like Drew Brees when Drew Brees was 40 years old and didn't have a rotator cuff. He does not throw the ball down the field.
He doesn't do it with confidence either.
He doesn't do it with confidence.
If you get the Derek Carr of 21 with Rich Bisaccia and John Gruden, where you saw him toss that ball downfield, and he wasn't afraid to. Now he's too afraid to make a mistake. And I think part of that is with Dennis Allen being a defensive-minded head coach, he's stressing to not take those risks. But at some point, I think there's too much emphasis on it to where it's like he's too afraid to make a mistake. And if you throw the ball deep and the ball gets intercepted, it's a punt to play early.
Correct. And then you look at their skill players on offense. They're all older and they've had a lot of miles, a lot of wear and tear on them. And then just the fact that they paid Taysom Hill the contract that he's getting paid is absolutely ridiculous. But their offensive line is still an issue, and the same thing with that defense. Yes, it's a great defense. It's a good defense, and they've been good for a while. But they're getting older and slower as it goes. So New Orleans probably should have tried to start rebuilding last year, except because this competitive rebuild is not going to work for them. And in coming in second place, I also again got the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's going to take a while for Kirk and Bijan and Kyle Pitts and Drake London, Daryl Mooney, who they signed this offseason from Chicago, to get that cohesion as a group and to feel comfortable where they can go out and they can score a lot of points they're going to need to win games, because adding Judon and Jesse Simmons is great. But we've been saying with the Atlanta pass rush for years, where is it? Judon's only one player. If they would have went out and drafted Byron Murphy or Dallas Turner, like they could have at 8, and you add Judon and Grady Jarrett, it's a different story. But they still don't have that. It's only Judon, and even though he is a great player, you can take away one defensive end on an offensive game plan each week. And I just don't think the Falcons defense is there enough to take them over the top and win this division, because Tampa Bay's got a damn good offensive line. Like we said, with Tristan Wirfs, they just drafted, I believe, the center from Oregon in the first round. They kept Baker up well last year, and he's coming back year 2 in the system. You still have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. They're going to feel good, and they have confidence, and they believe in Baker. And Dylan, like you said, anytime Todd Bowles is coaching the defense, you're going to be a top 15, top 12 defense in this league, and that's going to be enough. That's going to be enough where Tampa Bay is going to win the NFC South again. And I don't think the Falcons make the playoffs, so I think we just have one playoff team from the NFC South this year.
And I believe that would be the third straight year that were to happen. I think, or fourth potentially.
It'd be four because the Saints didn't
since
make
the
it.
Bucks have, the Saints didn't make it the year after Breeze retired, and it's just been the lone wolf. So we're gonna see if the Bucks stay a one-man wolf pack. As then that wraps up the South preview here. As we're gonna go over to college football. We're gonna do our Big 12 preview, our surprise and disappointing team, and our champion here. So the Big 12. It's probably going to be the most entertaining, fun conference to pay attention to all year, and I think a lot of that has to do because top to bottom, the quarterback play is going to be like what it was with the Pac-12 last year, where quarterback play about 1 through 12, both teams have their surefire starter, and they're going to be, or the coaching staff has developed enough trust to where that quarterback is going to be ready to go here. So I think you're gonna see a lot of parity. I think you could potentially see a 9-3 team playing for a spot in the playoff with the expanded playoff here. But we'll start with my surprise team. Is I'm gonna go down to the great state of Iowa, and I'm going with the Iowa State Cyclones. They're going to be my surprise team for the year. They last year they had a rough start here. They started 2-3 and then were able to finish the year strong, beating Kansas State on the road. And actually, it was only by a touchdown, but Iowa State controlled that game in the snow from the start here. They returned freshman of the year, Big 12 freshman of the year, Rocco Becht. I think is, I don't know. I wonder if he's related to the old Jets receiver Anthony Becht. And then they also have running back Abu Sama, who had a great second half, really came on in the second half of the season. Returned 8 starters back on offense. The offensive line is going to be very experienced as well, like who they have on the outside too. And then defensively too, they returned 9 starters on D, so they got 17 starters back here for Iowa State. And the defense under Matt Campbell and John Heacock, they've always been consistent. They've always been steady in the Big 12. Matt Campbell has been rumored to take some bigger jobs and has stuck around, whether that be his doing or some underperforming years. And Iowa State's happy because it's been the most consistent Iowa State has been. Well, frankly, in our lifetimes, which Grant and Ethan are both older than 30.
Grant's not yet.
Yeah, he is.
Grant's 30.
30.
Yeah, turned.
I said.
Yeah, you said he's older than 30. He's not 31. 31 is older than 30.
He's in his 30s. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm just, if we're trying to be correct, that's not a correct statement. I am the only old man in this group.
Technically, he is older than 30 because his birthday was February 20th, so he is 30 in however many days. So he is older
than 30. He turns 31, he is 30.
He's 30 and a half.
I don't go by halves. That's BS. I don't believe in half birthdays. I don't believe in quarter birthdays.
Hold on.
The women that do that are crazy.
Hold on.
I'm not saying it's a half birthday. I said it's 30 and a half.
Hold on. Is today the 20th?
Yeah.
Today is the 20th.
And it's August, right?
It is your birthday. It is your half birthday on
my half birthday today. Yeah.
Guys, we don't believe in this. We don't believe in this. Let's knock it off.
All right. I don't believe in shit. I don't care. I don't care about regular birthdays. It's just, I'm 30 and I'm not 31 yet.
See?
Well, we're guys, so we don't actually have birthdays. Our birthdays don't count.
That is correct.
So,
I mean, technically you're both right, but guess what? I don't care. I'm not going to be on anyone's side here because it doesn't matter.
So, I am the only thing that matters is I'm still in my 20s. So,
aren't you lucky?
I am, yeah. But who do you guys have for your surprise? Yeah, it can be, sure.
Sure. I'm going out west. I'm going to the Arizona Wildcats. I think they're going to have a little bit of fire with their coach leaving, heading up to Washington. But they returned their 2 best players, and honestly, they're possibly 2 first-round picks. McMillan and Fifta. I don't even know how to say his name. The quarterback. Fafita. Top 5 duo in college football probably by the end of the year in terms of just prolific passing. I don't know exactly what the rest of the team looks like, but when you got a receiver like that and a quarterback that good, like good things usually happen in college.
Especially in the Big 12.
And they have the majority of their core is back. And defensively, too, they're the leading tackler in the now defunct Pac-12. Jacob Manu is back, too. He led the Pac-12 with 116 tackles.
It's not bad.
And they have 3 of their 4 starters are back in the secondary, and then they also they're going to be new, fresh on the D line because 3 of their 4 guys followed Jed Fish to Washington, but yeah, and it would have been easy for them to go and follow Jed Fish and keep that momentum going, but they decided to stay. So good for them in a era of player
very rare circumstance.
Nice to see them stay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mr. 30-year-old.
So, Mr. 30-year-old, my surprise team, guys, is I'm going to a new team in the Big 12. We're going to the state of Florida. I'm going to go UCF. I'm going to go with the Knights.
Ooh. Good NIL.
It's just good NIL program, and then also when you get KJ Jefferson, that's a transfer from Arkansas. You run him in with a Gus Malzahn offense. It could be very Nick Marshall like from that Auburn team in 2013. Dynamic quarterback who can run the ball. He's not the best passer out there, but in Gus's offense, when you have a quarterback who can use his legs the way he can, you're going to be able to tear defenses apart. And then also just with where they get all their players from. You're in the state of Florida. You can now go out and recruit and say we're in a big time conference where you can compete for a college football playoff. I think Gus is going to slowly kind of get this thing turning around, and Central Florida is going to surprise some teams there in the Big 12 this year because everyone's kind of forgetting about them.
I like it.
Yeah, it's going to come down to how well Nick Marshall, KJ Jefferson plays, who probably was playing out of not in the offense that suits him best in Arkansas with Sam Pittman. We're going to see if that helps. That defense is a concern with Central Florida because they were not very good last year, and I think they lost a handful of guys in the portal as well. But, we'll see here. So and we'll go over to a disappointing team, and it's going to be Texas Tech. They were a team that was hit hard by the transfer portal, especially the defense. There's just too much newness. They had to replenish through the portal, and I think right away that they're going to struggle to get some continuity. Their schedule actually sets up pretty nicely for them looking at it. I mean, they got Abilene Christian. They go to Washington State. Then they have North Texas at home, Arizona State at home, Cincinnati, who might be the worst team in the Big 12. And then their first big test is October 5th when they go to Tucson at Arizona. The offense is going to, I think, still be pretty salty, though. They do have Baron Morton and then Taj Brooks. But Texas Tech, they were 7-6 last year. I think there's just too many moving pieces for them to where if they get out to a hot start, look out. But I think that they might drop a game or two and that's also just something that Texas Tech does.
Or they'll start out 5-0 and finish the year 5-7.
Which
sounds about right.
I mean, looking at their schedule, Abilene Christian win at Washington State. They're without Cam Ward, but they got to go to Palouse, which is going to be tough. So they'll be 1-1. They'll be 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2. And yeah, Grant, you're not entirely wrong because the back half after Baylor October 19th, they go to TCU, they go to Iowa State, they have Colorado at home, they go to Stillwater, and then they finish the year with West Virginia. So looking at that, I think Colorado is probably maybe their only surefire win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go Oklahoma State. And it's not because of who they have on the field. Talent-wise, they're probably a top 3 to 4 team in the conference, but it's just a circus off the field over there, and it all starts with the head coach. Mm-hmm. Last week, goes on some tangent about NIL. He hates it. There's no place for it. He doesn't talk about it through December. No agents can talk to his players. What does he do today? They put a QR code on their helmet that is directly tied to their NIL collective. What are we doing? The guy, how he's still there is kind of amazing to me because they've been pretty mediocre the last 7-8 years, honestly. They haven't really been that great. But he's a total head case. I don't think he's a good leader of men. And I think we realized that when he basically said he doesn't care that his star running back got a DUI, and then he basically admits that he does it all the time.
Well, and they're not going to have an easy start because they got South Dakota State and Arkansas right off the bat here. And Arkansas, I mean, Sam Pittman.
Honestly, they could legitimately be 0-2.
They could. I don't think they lose to Arkansas. South Dakota State's a game that South Dakota State has circled on their calendar, and it's not going to be an easy game. South Dakota State, they did lose a lot, but they still return a lot.
Absolutely can lose that game. I just don't like them.
Kind of just depends on see if Ollie Gordon's health can hold up throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of it, too, with Mike Gundy being there is I think people have to realize that after Barry Sanders and him left, they were a doormat. They were Rutgers or Kansas bad in the 2000s. So him being there, they've been some stability. They were 10-4. They played for the Big 12 championship 2 of the last 3 years. So he's had some bright spots. But is Alan Bowman ready to be the guy and take that next step? Was he the starter last year? Yeah, he is. This is his 19th or 7th year in college football. We're going to see if that experience pays off.
Jeepers.
It's a lot.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years, Grant.
They do. But
I did not.
No, you didn't. But
I did not.
I don't know. This is a tough one for me, guys, because not gonna lie, don't know a whole lot about the Big 12. Don't know a whole lot about these teams, but I'm gonna go Kansas State here, just in this aspect where they win the conference in 2022, and then this last year it just kind of felt like they took a step back a little bit. I understand, Will Howard transferred, but again, he was also benched, so he's not there anymore. You're gonna new quarterback. You got other coaches publicly saying how Coach Kleiman is negative recruiting or talking bad about them, and then also you just I looked at kind of their kind of recruiting classes. It's not a high ranking, and in today's world of NIL money, if you don't have a lot of money coming into your way for a program, it's hard to survive. So I think just kind of coming off a Big 12 win in 2022 to where they're going to be now, and kind of taking a step back.
I don't know where they got the money from, but in the last 6 months, they've gotten some stupid NIL money for basketball and football. They just raked in. Granted, he's from Kansas. They just got a 5-star tight end a couple of weeks ago. So there's some cash flow there now. So it'll be interesting to see what Kleiman does with it.
Gene Taylor, a heck of an endorser or salesman.
He can't do nothing about the NIL. He can't say a damn word about that, or at least do anything with it.
Well, and Kansas State, they do have to replace their offensive coordinator. Colin Klein went to Texas A&M.
A&M.
And the big thing is for them is, can Avery Johnson avoid the turnover bug that haunted Will Howard and cost him his job? If he's able to do that, I like Kansas State. And Kansas State, they are very much a developmental program. So have they been able to develop guys and get them developed and ready to go? So that's probably the big question with Kansas State. But let's go on to our championship here. And Grant's disappointing team is going to be my Big 12 champion. I'm going with the Wildcats. I believe in Coach Kleiman. I believe in Avery Johnson. I believe that's going to be a downhill physical running team. And as the season wears on, I think they're going to continue to take care of business. And I have them beating Utah, a team that a lot of people have favorited to win here. So Cam Rising is back after tearing his ACL in the Rose Bowl a few years ago against Penn State. But both teams, similar styles, kind of the take on that 3 yards and a cloud of dust mentality here. And I think in a conference that's going to, has the reputation of 5 wide, fun and gun, slinging the ball all over the place, I think physicality is going to win out, and the Kansas State Wildcats get their second Big 12 title in 3 years and go on to the playoff.
Well, Dylan, I have one of your teams in mind, and then I'm going to the other side of the state for the other team. So I picked Kansas last year. I have them back in the title game this year versus Utah. Utah, obviously, Rising's back. They pick up Singer, former Arizona USC player. He was all Pac-12 for Arizona. I think first team even when before he transferred over to USC. But the biggest reason I'm putting Utah there is they returned their whole defensive line, both safeties, and a starting linebacker. Like, they're going to have probably a top 10
Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
And arguably one of the best coaches in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Not in just Big 12 in college football.
Yeah,
they should be top 10 defense
not
nationwide.
Big 12 college football.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should be top 10 defense nationwide. But
Kansas, their big thing is can Jalen Daniels play all 12 games? Because if he is able to stay healthy throughout the year, I think Kansas is probably playing for a Big 12 title.
Yeah, they return obviously Daniels. They get their running back Dean, and then their top 3 wide receivers are all back. Negative thing with them, they only return 2 linemen on the offensive side, and I don't think they return a single D lineman, which is obviously a pretty big deal. But they do return 2 all Big 12 DBs. So if they can generate any sort of pressure, they're more than likely going to force some turnovers there. So how that defense shakes out really just is going to dictate if they win it or not. But I'm going with Utah. I think that defense is too good. And at the end of the day, Daniels is going to have a few turnovers in that game that'll be the difference.
And Kansas also has to replace the offensive coordinator because Andy Kotelnicki left for Penn State.
Penn State. Yep.
See, I got my championship matchup here, guys, is going to be Utah versus Oklahoma State. I think just kind of the physicality and the downhill running that Oklahoma State is going to have, with Ollie Gordon and crew this year is going to be too much. And let's not forget, they played in the Big 12 title game last year when Texas and Oklahoma were there, when the 2 big bad wolves in the neighborhood were there, and they beat OU last year. And I think, like Ethan said, with Mike Gundy, it's a circus from the outside, but on the inside, I think his players, the administration, they love him, and they're gonna continue to get to fight and scratch and claw. And is it still in Dallas? Big 12 championship game still in Dallas?
I believe so.
Dylan, at AT&T. So if it is there, I think they're going to get back, and I think they're going to play Utah. If you ask me, Utah is the best team in this conference, and it's particularly not real close. Like I said, they have the best coach in the conference. They're going to have the best defense.
Whoa, Grant, are you disrespecting Coach Prime? You're not going to even mention Coach Prime's standards?
Well,
he's nowhere near Kyle Whittingham, so no, I'm not.
Considering no one besides yourself has mentioned Colorado
team in the history of college football.
They are.
Well, I'm gonna not take your bait, and I'm gonna talk about this Utah team who won back-to-back.
I think we are the first. We might have been the first Big 12 preview that did not bring up Colorado at all as a disappointing, a surprise team, or in playing in the conference title. So we'll give it up.
How can you be disappointing when you know you're going to suck?
Yeah, Dylan, to your point and Ethan's point, I expect them to go 4-8. So I'm not going to waste my time or energy on them. Like when you go 4-8, and I expect you to go 4-8, I'm not going to talk about you.
There is a very real possibility that Colorado starts the year out 0-3 because they're playing NDSU week 1. That's a loss. They go to Nebraska, who is going to be one of the more improved teams in college football. They have a rivalry game in Fort Collins at Colorado State, and they have a completely new offensive line. And I mean, if they had a scrimmage on Sunday or something, and it sounded like the offensive line did not look good. And at that point, how many guys are going to be jumping ship and just saying we're done, like looking for their next opportunity?
What's going to stop Shadir from saying, you know what, I'm done playing, and I'm just going to focus on the NFL draft?
Him and Hunter.
And Hunter, absolutely.
So,
but yeah, back to Utah. They have the best coach in the conference, and it's not even close. Look at what Utah did in the Pac-12 these last 3 years, winning 9 games a year, winning the conference title back-to-back years. Always one of the more underrated programs in the country. They're big, they're physical, and they're fast. And I know Cam's coming back from torn ACL, but they have. I think he's the best quarterback in this conference. So you have the best defense, you have the best head coach, and the best quarterback. And they always have 2 or 3 good running backs. Utah is winning the Big 12, and they're going to be in the college football playoff this year.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's go back up to the NFL as and preview the AFC and NFC East here. So we'll start with the AFC is in the 4 spot. It's going to be the worst team in football. You can bookmark it, tap the vein. The Patriots will be the worst team in the NFL this year. It's not going to be close. They will be the number 1 overall pick, and I don't know who they're going to take. But the Patriots are going to be the force finished in dead last again in the AFC East. In the 3, I'm going to go I'm bouncing around here. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. I don't like that their offensive line was a question mark last year. They lost some key pieces off that offensive line and the defensive line too. It's not going to be easy keeping Tua protected, who statistically had his best year as a pro last year. Just signed that big contract. He's got good weapons, but the running backs cannot stay healthy, which is the key to their offensive success. And then have Tyreek Hill take the top off the defense. I just don't trust the Dolphins and the coaching staff enough. And in 2 spot, I got to go with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets coming off an injury, a reupholstered offensive line. I think that Aaron Rodgers is ready to have he's been hearing a lot of talk and all the naysayers saying that he has been washed up. I think he's going to go out and prove some people wrong. And going for the what is this now? 5th straight year? I got the Buffalo Bills. I have the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East. I think that they got rid of Stephon Diggs. I think they finally realized that when you play in Buffalo, you cannot be a throw the ball all over the field type of offense. I think they're going to rely more on that run game. Yes, they lost some receivers, but a reupholstered offensive line, 2 good running backs, not relying on Josh Allen's legs as much to bail them out. I think the Bills, as the going to go a lot more heavier set with a 2 tight end set with Dalton Kincaid, who had a good rookie year. I think the Bills are going to be playing be atop the AFC East again.
I agree with Dylan on the Patriots. There's nothing else to say. They're just a bad football team. I've watched one of their games in the preseason. It's not good. So we're just going to leave it at that. It's just a waste of time to say anything different. My 3rd team actually is the Buffalo Bills. Before I see them being able to run the ball without tossing it all over, I'm going to have to see it. Like, they have proven time and time again they can't run the ball. And until they prove it, I'm just going to go what they can. And without losing Diggs, Gabe Davis, like, I think probably the 2 most targets on your team, and replacing those guys with a rookie, Shakir, and God, who's the other guy? Samuel. Like,
Keon Coleman.
It's not enough. Dalton Kincaid's going to get 200 targets. Like, he's going to have probably the most targets in the league from a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're going to have enough help around Josh Allen. 2nd, I'm going Miami Dolphins. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think this is also Mike McDaniel. I don't know his last name. McDaniel. Last name was an M. I was going to say McGlinchey. I think this is last year in Miami. It's now or never. He's had plenty of time to figure it out, get this team rolling, and all his quarterback is doing is roasting the former defensive coordinator. Shut up and play football. Prove it. Was he their head coach?
He was.
Yeah, he was their head coach.
Was he? Yeah,
he famously wanted Herbert over Tua.
Yeah. So I keep complaining about that. You're not good enough to get to the playoffs. You're probably going to get hurt. It happens every year. Never fails. Rinse and repeat. And then I'm going back with the same team I picked last year. I think they have the best defense in this division, and a hopefully healthy Aaron Rodgers. along with the weapons he has, Wilson, Brees Hall. I mean, Braylon Allen coming in a cold environment in New York does not sound fun to try and stop that. I like the Jets. I think they can put it together this year and make the playoffs.
Jets, Jets.
If they score 20 points a game, they probably are going to be
They should
11
be
and 6.
11 and 6, 12 and 5. Yeah.
Brees Hall stays healthy. I think he's going to be that key, the X factor in that offense too, because as Aaron Rodgers gets healthier and gets more comfortable with a torn Achilles, and we're going to see if that offensive line, if the changes they made on the offensive line is going to help.
Week 1 against San Francisco.
Yep, that's not going to help anything.
When you're facing that pass rush with those fresh legs,
not ideal. But at the same time, Rodgers is going home, and that usually does not end well for the home team.
Yes, and we'll see if he can get revenge on this Niners team who's beat him how many countless times in the playoffs.
And also how much crap they have going off the field too. That absolutely plays a factor.
Oh yeah. But again, yeah, New England, last place. They're awful. No weapons. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Is Drake May going to play? Is he even the second best quarterback on the team, or is he the third best? Jacoby Brissett is throwing to nobody. They just traded away Matthew Judon. And the Gerard Mayo hire does not excite me. Congratulations, he was a good leader on the field as a player, but he's only seen it done one way as an assistant coach, and that's Bill Belichick. You can't emulate what Belichick does because nobody else can. So is he going to be able to pull something out of his hat to get this team going? I just don't see it.
And they didn't even make any changes either. So it's basically the same team. It seems like Robert Kraft is basically trying to prove that Belichick was the problem. And that Gerard Mayo is going to be the problem solver. But it's deeper. I think the Krafts are the problem. I think that the Apple TV documentary exposed a lot of that.
And the Apple TV documentary tried to paint Belichick as the bad guy because the Krafts paid to produce this. But owner or not, you can't. The Patriots would still be the Patriots even if someone else was owning the team, as long as you still had Belichick and his regime and those players. So I'm with you, Dylan. I think the Krafts are more at fault, but no one's going to blame them. And again, in third place in this division, I also had the Miami Dolphins because, like we said, injuries at the defensive line, and you let Alex Van Ginkel walk, and you let Kristen Wilkins go. So your 4 best pass rushers that you had last year are now off this team. Your offensive line was all right, or injured, might not be able to play the first 6 weeks of the season. Your offensive line was already an issue. Teron Armstead can't stay healthy. You let Robert Hunt go to Carolina. We've seen this Miami team looks great in September, but when the weather changes, they can't do it, and that's because Mike McDaniel is not a good head coach, and this team is not tough. It represents him. It's flashy. It looks cool on social media, but when it's time to play, they get their ass kicked. And the amount of money they invested in Tua and those wideouts this offseason, that doesn't win you games. So Miami's going to come in third place in this division, and I see this fun little trip that they're on right now ending very fast because it's not going to end well, and they're going to lose a lot of games. In second place, I have the New York Jets, guys, and I worry that the Jets' offensive line isn't going to be able to mesh in time, and that's going to cause them to lose some games, or there'll be some opportunities this year when, let's say, Garrett Wilson is wide open down the field, but Aaron can't find him because he's running for his life. And then how is Aaron at 40 years old coming off the Achilles? I have no reason. running for his life. I have no reason not to believe that he won't be the same MVP player that he was because he's Aaron Rodgers. But again, Father Time is undefeated. And I'm really curious on how that's going to be. That defense is going to propel them to win a lot of games. Like Ethan said, they're the best defense in this division. And I don't think it's particularly close now. They're gonna help you win a lot of games, but I just don't trust Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller. It's clearly the Aaron Rodgers show, and
are you saying he can't hack it?
That is 100% what I'm saying. Nathaniel Hackett can't hack it, and it's just a matter of time before Tyron Smith gets hurt at left tackle, and then they have to play the rookie from Penn State. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? We don't know. So it's going to take a while for that to mesh. So they'll be in second place. But I do think they'll be a wild card team just with that defense. And that means the Buffalo Bills are winning the division. And kind of like how Pat Mahomes had that year in 2022 where when they let go of Tyreek, I think this is Josh Allen's time to shine. With some patchwork wide receivers, Keon Coleman, with those two tight ends and those running backs to have with James Cook. They figured out last year at the end of the year, we want to attack the middle of the field. We don't need Stephon Diggs. They wrote him off, and guess what they started to do? They started to win games. And Sean McDermott is still the best head coach in this division. And 80% of the time in this league, when you have the best head coach and the best quarterback, you're going to win the division. And I think this is a prove-it year. Josh Allen's going to say, hey, don't forget about me. And the Bills are going to win the division for the 5th straight year.
So, all right. Well, Grant, you and I mirror each other here. And go over to the NFC East before we go over to Ethan for curveball of the week here. But in the 4th spot, Hard Knocks didn't do them any favor. It's going to be the New York Giants. The offensive line is still a question mark. Letting their best offensive weapon go in Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is not the guy. They paid him in a panic. He had a decent year, but do not trust him defensively. They're a mess. The Giants are going to be at the top and looking for a quarterback along with the cellar dweller in the AFC East, the Patriots. In the 3 spot, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, their coach is not a grown-up, Nick Sirianni. Him and Jalen Hurts are not on the same page. They went out and drafted a below-average offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. And I like who they went and hired on the defensive side, which is the one good coach that they have there. But I don't think it's going to be enough to cancel out the immaturity of Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore. Towards the end of last year, they imploded, and I think that implode is going to continue, especially if you hear the rumors that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Eagles team does not respect Nick Sirianni's offensive acumen and understanding of being a head coach. I think that comes to a forefront. I think Nick Sirianni is going to be fired after this year. And in the 2 spot, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. I have them in second here. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a stud. They have good weapons in Brian Robinson, and then on the outside in Terry McLaurin. I'm trying to think who else they have. Wilson, the tight end from Virginia Tech. Defensively, or is it Logan Thomas? Yes. Defensively, under Dan Quinn, they are going to be improved. Are they going to be able to stop the run? That's going to be a big question mark, but they have good pass rushers. I like the Commanders in the 2 spot, and for the first time since 2003, 2004, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys, repeating and as NFC East champions, and probably going to lose in the first round again, but we'll worry about that when they get there. I don't think Mike McCarthy gets the credit that he's deserved. This is the first time that they've made the playoffs 3 straight years since Bill Parcells was the head coach. the offensive line, it looks like they have hit it out of the park with their 2 selections that they've drafted this year. In Guyton, and then I can't think of the guy's name, is escaping me. Played well on Thursday night or Friday night. And I think that's going to help as the offensive line and bringing in Zeke, who isn't going to be the home run guy, but is going to be able to get the tough yards, which something Dallas was missing last year. I have full confidence the CD deal is going to get done. Jake Ferguson has improved year to year. And the defense under Mike Zimmer, I think the big question, which does worry me, is the knock on Zimmer when he was the Vikings head coach was never able to consistently stop the run. Is he going to be able to do that? We're going to find out. I think Micah Parsons, I think he got called out by his teammates. I think he's heard that. I think he's ready to answer the bell and also playing for a big contract. So I like the Cowboys to advance from win the NFC East for back-to-back years.
All right. I also have the Giants at the bottom. I mean, pick your poison. Who's going to get the first pick? It's either Giants or Patriots. So Neighbors probably going to have another 150 targets, just an insane amount. Huge share, but it's obviously not going to be enough to really do much for them. Third place, I have the Commanders. I think they're 1 year away. Give Jaden Daniels 1 year to kind of get his feet wet a little bit, and then next year I think is when they can really take off, especially their defense is actually solid. And again, add a defensive piece in the offseason, whether that's in the draft, free agency, whatever it is. They're going to be good next year. Second, I have the Eagles. I have them squeezing in at the 7th seed in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be good. I think Sirianni gets fired. Whatever's going on over there, it's a culture issue. You can definitely tell they're not the same team as when they won the Super Bowl, and it's not even close.
Went to the Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl, I guess. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of Foles, but yeah, that wasn't the same coach. That was too long ago. But no, I just don't see them. I just don't see them clicking. Like, I think they have too many mouths to feed. You had Saquon into that mix now too. AJ Brown's getting all pissed off. There's not a lot of money to move around either. They have some big contracts now, and it's put up or shut up, or they're going to have to blow it up within the next 2 years easily. I guess that leads me to giving Dylan's team Dallas the knock for –
Say it.
They will win, but we all know they will lose. So it doesn't matter. You're not going to win in the playoffs. It doesn't happen. So take your division title, hang the banner, and then hang up a banner next to it that says we lost again. We suck again. You can put the GIF up of it too.
My deflated feeling of after their Cowboys lost.
Yeah,
do the boys. Jordan meme.
The crying Jordan meme, the crying Dylan meme after the Cowboys
put
lose
Dylan's
to the Packers,
face on it.
after they lose to the Packers again in the playoffs in AT&T Stadium.
Oh, Jordan Love.
Don't.
We're speaking into existence, Dylan.
No, your reverse psychology. You know what? I like it, you guys. I like your reverse psychology to gas me up.
That's not a real thing.
How do you know it's not a real thing, Ethan?
Because everything I've said doesn't mean it always comes true, and vice versa. So it's not a real thing.
Okay, so Ethan's on a side tangent on how much better he is than us. So it means it's my turn.
No, I didn't say that.
And
I did not say that.
That would be the New York Giants. Like Ethan or Dylan said, Hard Knocks shows how inept their general manager is. He does not deserve this job that he has. He was riding off the success of Brandon Beane in Buffalo when he got this job, and it's not working.
Brian Daboll deserves better. I will say that.
Brian Daboll does deserve better, but you know what? And I think unfortunately that might be somewhere new next year, because both him and the GM agreed to pay Daniel Jones after that Mickey Mouse year, the quote good year he had against a Mickey Mouse schedule, and now you take away Saquon. We've seen what Daniel Jones is like without Saquon Barkley. It looks like us playing in the NFL. So it's bad. And then in the 3 spot, I also have the Washington Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels and this team and this offense is going to be good as the year goes on. But this isn't LSU anymore, Jaden. These guys are professionals and they're playing fast, and adjustments happen like that. I think there's going to be a small learning curve with him. There's going to be some flashy plays and some plays where we're sitting back like, ooh, Jaden, you can't do that. And their offensive line is still a weakness. I know they added a bunch of players this offseason, but their O-line is still not good. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball consistently, get this play-action pass game going. And with Cliff Kingsbury as your OC, not sure how much I like that. But it's a new head coach, it's a new quarterback, it's a new owner, a new GM. There will be some energy there in the building, and they're going to play hard with Dan Quinn. So that stuff will kind of cancel out a little bit, but I think the Commanders are going to be in third place. And in second place, I got the Dallas Cowboys. We talk about we talk about a culture issue in Philadelphia. I think there's some sort of disconnect in Dallas as well. To come up to a playoff game like that when you're not prepared, the distractions off the field. Is CD going to be there? Are we going to pay Dak or not? Do we have two running backs we can trust? These receivers that outside of CD are not good players. So there's a lot that's got to come together. And when you want to run a good offense in this league, you need time, you need reps in the thousands. And then Dallas just hasn't had that. And I think they're going to start off a little slow, and that's going to hurt them this year. So then by default, but Dallas will still make the playoffs. By default, someone has to win this division, and that's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Kellen Moore has to have a serious conversation with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and say, hey, we signed Saquon. We still have a damn good offensive line. The two best tackle combination in the NFL, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, those are four good players. I think they're going to run the ball with Saquon a lot. They're going to continue to use Jalen's legs, and that'll set up some play-action pass. This offense is going to have some success. This year the defense still worries me a little bit because not only do you lose Fletcher Cox, the pass rush outside of that isn't consistent. You lost Hassan Reddick. The secondary, they're going to have a lot of young pieces, and Cooper DeJean, who has low football IQ, playing in a tough defense, coached by Vic Fangio. Can Quinyon Mitchell get it going right away? There's some questions for concerns there, but I do think Fangio and the staff, this defense, they're gonna figure it out towards the end of the year. And I think the Eagles are gonna win the division.
And I think you're wrong. So, Ethan, what do you got for us for curveball of the week?
Yeah, this one's simple. What's like a good deed or a good thing you've done this week?
A good deed
that I've done this week?
Oh boy.
I got tonight at Menards. Actually, I dropped a penny fell out of my car, and I looked down and it was on heads, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let some find this. He's gonna know about it. If you find it on heads, it's good luck. And then reality's gonna hit, and he's like, wow, this didn't work. So that was my good deed. Get his hopes up. And
that's not a good deed.
It is a good deed. I left it there for him to find.
Then you should have stopped there, because then what you said after that makes you come off as an asshole.
No, but it's just how it works. I'm being a realistic person, but I also did a good deed.
That's how it works, or you're moving the goalpost and you're saying that's how it works.
What could I have picked up?
There's a saying: a person too lazy to pick up a penny ain't worth a cent.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out if a kid picks it up or not.
That can't be a real saying, Dylan. You just made that up.
It is.
I guarantee you, some North Dakotan psycho made it.
I've never heard that before.
You've never heard that?
No, and I've been on the planet for 30 and a half years, and I've never heard that before.
Now you learn something new every day.
Holy smokes, apparently you do.
Uh-huh. Yep. So, my good deed would be I don't. I was coaching the youth of America about football. That was my good deed.
Wow. Aren't you getting paid for it?
In theory, yes. I don't do it for money though.
It's only Tuesday, and I'm having a hard time coming up with something here. But when I went to the gym yesterday after work, I did hold the door open for a gentleman, and he was the Canadian distance away. So
wow!
I could have, you know, it was just
so was he across the street in the parking lot over there, or?
But no, so I was at the front door, and he hadn't reached the curb yet. And when you get to the curb, it's probably still another 15 feet to the front door. So I don't know. He was maybe 20 feet away, and I held the door open so he didn't have to come back. And I just didn't want to go inside and come off as an asshole. So it was that gray area where you're like, do I hold it open or do I just go inside and say, hey, pal, you can get it yourself? But
you know what you could really do, Grant, is you could just hit the handicap sign and just keep the door open.
I'm going to have to look into this next time I go to the gym. I don't know if there is a handicap sign out front, so we might have a possible ADA violation here in Minnesota.
Call the cops.
I'll look into that, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, if you say so.
Because if that's the case, then it's not much of a good deed because I could have hit that. But like I said, it was far enough away where I was like, do I hold the door or do I just walk inside and say, hey, screw you, pal?
Oh, well, I bet you he appreciated it.
Yes, he did. He did tell me thanks. Could he have meant it? Yes. Could he have just been the nice thing to say? Also, yes. But you know what? I got a thank you out of it. So that's my good deed for the week.
Okay, there you go. Well, that wraps this week's episode up. We'll be back next week, and we'll be previewing some games. We still got to do our ACC preview here, so we'll do that next week as well. But we got week 1 on deck next week. Go check us out on all of our social medias. We'll have the podcast of the show up later, either hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. But we'll be live probably next week on Tuesday as well to get you ready as before Ethan heads out to Boulder to watch the Bison beat the shit out of Colorado. So horns up, go Bison. And thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week.